Hoy día es lunes, el 14 de mayo. Yo soy Ghost, este es Georgie, y aquí está Danton. En Nueva York, Danny Otto.
Yeah.
That's me.
Danny Otto? Say in Spanish. How do you say it? How do you say it in Spanish, Danny? You know how to say it?
It's not Danny Hoto, it's Danny Automobile.
Automobile?
Yeah.
Danny Automobile?
Well, short for auto. Auto, I guess.
What's up?
Not much. Hope everybody had a nice Mother's Day.
How was your guys' weekend and Mother's Day?
Very cool.
Well, it was terrible because I wasn't with my mother.
Yeah.
So,
Same
it's
here.
a decision I'm regretting. Especially after just hanging up the phone with her.
Oh.
Yeah.
She gave you the guilt trip?
No, but we're gonna see her. We're gonna see her in a couple days, and so our parents are like, we're gonna see you a couple days after. You don't have to come out. But it turns out now Mom's checking her schedule, and she has a doctor's appointment Thursday, and she's moved it before, and she said that they're getting harder to kind of move around.
She told me
And
she was
so
going to
she
call
has
today
to
and
leave,
see if she could stay.
Thursday early with Dad, who has to also be at a meeting on Thursday. I told her, I go, that is a lot for you to wake up at 4 a.m. because that's what time Dad's going to have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then drive with Dad. And sure, she'll probably sleep some of the way, all the way, I don't know. But then get there and then drive to OC. I mean, she's 75 years old, man. That's a lot of driving for her, especially when the day before they drove. So
I didn't know that part.
I told her, yeah, she would have to drive herself because Dad has to go to his meeting. I don't want her doing all that driving. I said, you're better off just staying there alone. But then when I said, perhaps Goz and I can go up this weekend, or I don't know your schedule. Maybe I can go. We can have a even later Mother's Day, dinner or lunch. And she said, well, forget about Mother's Day. It's come and gone. And that one hurt, man, because I was like, damn it, that's why I wanted to be there, because I hate this bullshit. We'll celebrate it late and all that. And now I fucked up my mom's 75th birthday and her Mother's Day by this whole we'll do it a couple days later. Just doesn't feel the same, man. And I told her, man, I go, you know what? I go, I'm not being sarcastic. I go, I accept blame. I should have been there. I go, but Mom, I stand by it. If you can't switch your appointment, just go or just stay. I don't see the point in coming for 24 hours.
Going up at 30.
And then going back when you can stay, relax, do your thing. And then when I see you, we'll just have a mom and son lunch. I mean, You're right. Mother's Day came and went, and I blew it. I told her so. Kind of.
This is our life.
Huh?
All right, guys.
This is
Come
our
up
life.
in 10. Dan Henderson is there and ready to go.
Awesome.
Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goz. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goz.
You know the story. Larry Parker got me $2.1 All right, forget that.
Yeah.
You know the story. This is MMA Junkie Radio. I'll dispense with the introductions because we got to get right down to it. We have a Hall of Famer on the line, and we are going to be talking to Dan Henderson, who it was recently announced his fight versus Mauricio Shogun Rua will be inducted into this year's UFC Hall of Fame on July 5th here in Las Vegas during International Fight Week. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Hendo? How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good, my man. Thanks for joining us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Beautiful Monday here, and congratulations on the news that we heard this weekend. Your fight at UFC 139 will be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was an exciting fight. Probably not as exciting for me than it was to all you guys, but I enjoy it now that it's over.
You know, they say in a fight like that, you can leave a little bit of yourself in the cage, in the octagon, but you went on to have, you know, at least 10 or a dozen more fights. But looking back, do you feel you were ever the same after that fight, Dan? I mean, regardless of age or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had battles before, you know, on the wrestling mat, you know, and in the cage and rings, and you know, it just kind of helps give you experience and confidence that you're able to achieve more.
That night, you said you didn't take much joy and pleasure like us fans and media did, but I've seen quotes where you attribute, you know, you do sit back and realize just how great the fight is by going back and you know, watching it again. But when you do think of that night, regardless of you thinking back to your memories of it, you know, when you experienced it, or in looking back at the videos, what stood out more than anything other than you just got your hand raised?
You know, I guess the toughness of Shogun and his ability to stay in there, because I hit him with some really hard shots, and a lot of them, and you know, he stuck in there and managed to weather the storm and keep on going and kind of wore me out Rocky style.
Over the years, have you guys run into each other, and how often do you talk about the fight?
Well, I mean, I run into him, but I don't talk to him a whole lot. He doesn't speak English that well, but you know, I think you know, it's kind of an unspoken mutual respect, a lot more than we probably had before that fight.
It's crazy because Bonner Griffin, all respect due to that fight, it did put the UFC on the map. It got things going for Zuffa, but this one was just as exciting, and it went an extra 10 minutes, and I'm glad this one got in, guys. You
were there live too,
I
right?
was there live for this thing, and it was 25 minutes, but it felt like 2 hours, and it felt like you were watching something special. But you know, like it's just something you'll never forget. It's you know, it's on my all-time list of something I'll never forget. And I'm glad it got its due, but I feel like it's still a couple years late in getting its due. This one should have been the first fight that ever went in, is what I'm trying to say. But, you know, I don't think Hendo's lost too much sleep over it, and the fact that it's going in is a wonderful thing. All right, anyway, why am I talking? The guest is on the line. Goes, what do you have for Hendo?
Dan, now this fight goes into the Hall of Fame. It's one of the UFC's favorite fights, a lot of the fans' favorite fights, but does that mean it's one of your favorite fights? Like, which one would you say stands out the most for you?
Well, obviously, I don't know if I'd call this one my favorite fight. It's probably one of them, but you know, I think it has the memory. For me, my memories of this fight was a pretty tough night that I don't think I'd want to do that again. But you know, I guess the fights that I knock somebody out that's pretty dang tough is probably my favorite ones. You know, like Vanderlei or Fedor. Those are probably my favorite ones. I think,
you know,
my fan favorite one is always going to be the Bisping knockout.
And by the way, the
feeling that was
Fedor
coming.
and Hua one were back-to-back fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going on the Underground forum, and people were talking about best four-fight run ever. And I'd have to go back and revisit it. I probably could, because those threads are sometimes easy to find. So I'm going back like 7 years ago. And I was like, you may want to take a look at this one, but Hua, Emelianenko, Cavalcante, Sobral was pretty impressive, because along the way, Sobral had, Sobral's a name that people aren't familiar with now here in this more modern era, but at the time he was a tough SOB. Then he captured the Strikeforce Light Heavyweight Championship, and what that meant was now you had a Pride champion, Pride multi-weight champion, who had won yet another major belt, and then he took on Fedor, man. I mean, this is a guy that's 2 weight classes above, got that KO, and then the Hua fight, and I got a lot of love for that. I'm going to go back and revisit it sometime, and I'll share it with you guys, but there was some great 4-fight runs, but this one was right up there with any other one anyone's ever
that's a tough,
come up with.
That's a murderer's row right there. Hey, Dan, like every year when these type of fights go into the Hall of Fame, there's going to be a guy that was on the winning side and a guy that was on the losing side. Had you been on the losing side that night, could you still enjoy this moment?
I don't know. I mean, probably, but not nearly as well. It's definitely better to be on the winning side of those. I mean, I've had fights where I'm proud of myself for, even though I lost. But I definitely would be a little more proud had I won.
Our fight analyst Dan Tom's got a couple questions for you. What do you got, Dan? For Dan.
Hey, Dan. Maybe it's because of the era I started following the sport, but a lot of my favorite fighters, not just because you're on here, if I were to name them, would be guys like yourself, Randy Couture, and BJ Penn. And the common thread between you guys is because I think, not just being great fighters, obviously, but you guys were the multi-weight guys, the guys taking on challenges in divisions north or south, or just big names that, were having a hard time finding people to face them at that time. With you being one of the first multi-divisional champs, obviously, with your run in Pride there, what do you think about the multi-divisional champs of today? We are seeing more, and that's to be expected, and of course we want to see growth. That's all great. But what's your opinion on maybe not so much the champions, unless you have an opinion on a champion like a McGregor or any of these other multi-divisional hopefuls, but what do you think about today's climate? Is it easier? Is it harder? What's your take?
I don't know if it's easier or harder. I think, back in the day, the top few guys were just as tough as the top few guys now. There's just more fighters now, but not more that are at that level of champion quality in each weight class. There's always a few guys in each weight class that could probably be the champ on any given day, but and I probably shouldn't comment too much on McGregor. I'm not real happy with his latest stunt to give MMA kind of a black eye, but he's obviously accomplished a lot in the sport as well. So I think there's just more fighters out there and just as many top guys.
Right on, and you were talking about favorite fights with Goes just a second ago, and I got to be honest, one of mine, just not just yours, just in general in MMA, was, again, maybe speaks to the time I was coming into the sport, but was your second fight with Vanderlei Silva. Just the spinning back fist and then hitting him with the left hand, not the right, and putting a guy out who at that time I believe he only was losing at the open weight Grand Prix as far as Pride middleweight was concerned. He was on quite the run. Obviously, does that rank among your top fights? But B, more importantly, Dan, you seem like a guy who's not scared of anything. Going into that fight, maybe not scared is the right word, but was there more of like an intensity, a butterflies in your stomach, so to speak, in that fight more than any others?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to fighting him again for 5 or 6 years since I had fought him the first time. I felt that I kind of just barely came up short the first time and knew that I could beat him up. I think I was ready to go that fight, which means no butterflies, no anything. I was just pretty confident in my conditioning and my training, and loved a good scrap. So
Dan, let me ask.
I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that ranks kind of one of my top fights as far as accomplishments go, and beating one of the top guys out there in his prime.
Dan, when you got the call, and I know you know this, but you may not agree with me that you're a humble guy, but you are going to go in the Hall of Fame one day. So when you got the call, did you think that maybe it was going to be just as Dan Henderson versus the fight or anything like that?
No, I mean, I honestly didn't know that they put fights in the Hall of Fame. I just thought it was individuals. So, I was surprised in that way. But I think eventually I'll probably get the call to be in the Hall of Fame personally as well. But yeah, it's not something I'm thinking about every day or that often at all.
You just chill out and be Dan Henderson. Let us worry about that. We know your ass is going in the Hall of Fame, man. So you just continue to be Dan Hendo, and one day you'll get the call. I think it's way overdue, but this will be cool that your fight and you at one point get into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, I definitely would be honored and humbled to have that happen for sure.
Dan, I asked you this about 9 months ago, I think, when I think Bisping was looking for one last opponent, and I said, hey, would you come back? I know fighters get this question after they retire, and you weren't too interested. But since then, time has gone by, and we're seeing Tito and Chuck might do it again or whatever. And so I got to ask, are you still firmly retired, or should promoters holler at you? Are you in shape? Would you do the dance again?
Well, I have no plan on getting back in there, if that's what you mean.
So they'd be wasting their time to holler at Dan Henderson?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say wasting their time if they had a lot of money.
Fair enough. All right, my man. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us here on the show. I know you have an appointment to get to, but we really appreciate you squeezing us in. And congratulations again on your fight versus Shogun Rua at UFC 139. The fact that it's going to be inducted in July. We'll see you in a few months here in Vegas.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right.
See you then.
All right, see you. That's one of the greatest ever. Dan Henderson, former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion, former Pride welterweight champion, former Pride middleweight champion, and now his fight will be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. His fight with Shogun Rua at UFC 139, an event where I went 12-0.
On your picks?
Yeah. I said
that. Yeah, I remember that.
I had the whole main card right.
At UFC 139?
Hi.
Okay. And for those of you that are wondering, the lovely and talented Miesha Tate, and pregnant, Miesha Tate is here in studio with us. Former Strikeforce bantamweight champ, former UFC bantamweight champion.
You guys get a 2-for-1 deal today.
You remember that card, UFC 139?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I just jumped in. I thought you were talking about this last weekend. I was like, I had all the main card right. I should have parlayed or something, but I never bet on fights. So
that's tough to do. What you did, the whole card.
The whole card. But you had UFC 139.
139. It was in San Jose. We just hung up the phone with Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
And you saw that fight with Shogun.
Who did he fight on that card?
Shogun Rua.
Oh, okay.
You remember that one?
I don't.
Oh, dude.
I got to go back and watch it.
You got to go back and watch it.
I'm sure if I go back and watch the first 60 seconds, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember this fight. But it's like I got to trigger it.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it was in San Jose. They were the main event, and they bludgeoned themselves. I mean, they were literally like, when the round's over, whoever's on top kind of gets up and starts to stumble. Mm-hmm. And the other guy either gets a hand or the corner or they're just slow and doing it. I mean, literally, it was like they were scraping these guys up and taking them to the corner. And we were all sitting there in awe.
And you're like, how are they going to fight the next
round?
How
are they going to do it? And then they'd go back out, and they were hammering each other. Shogun was getting takedowns on the wrestler. Hendo was getting kicks on the kickboxer. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. And I knew I was watching something special that night. So it was really, really cool.
I remember that was the same night that Michael Chandler fought Eddie Alvarez the first time.
Another
and I was
amazing
watching
fight.
that fight, and I checked in with him, and I told him, dude, you messed up. This was a great fight. And I remember him telling me, no, you messed up. And then we never really figured out. I think they were just both great fights.
They were
right?
both great fights. Yeah.
You were who got fight of the night? Do you know?
Well, I'm sure they did. I mean, I could go back and check.
No, they definitely did.
Yeah, for UFC 139.
Yeah, probably. They probably got fight of the night, but
if they didn't, and they just put them in the Hall of Fame, they need to go back and pay them that bonus.
They had to have, but I do want to confirm. I like doing that, so here it is. The bonus is that night. It only sold 290,000 pay-per-views. The gate was 1,268. Attendance at the San Jose HP Pavilion was 13,832. And I'm saying all this because I'm pausing as I look for the real answers that you want. It was Hua and Henderson and Vanderlei and Kung Lee. Okay. So they awarded 70,000 to those four. Now, for those of you thinking, oh, well, they must not have given out knockout and submission. No, the UFC stepped up and gave Michael McDonald KO of the night and submission of the night to Uriah Faber. So that night, the UFC put out 7 times 6, 420,000 in bonuses.
Wow.
Double what they put out now because it's always 4 times 5 or 50,000.
Yeah. They were generous then.
And Dan Henderson made 250,000 just to show. No win bonus.
Wow.
So he was getting paid. This was 2011.
Yeah, that's good money for back then.
That was good money. Yeah, Shogun Hua got 165. Vanderlei got 200,000 no win bonus. Some of these guys were able to negotiate good money coming over from Pride and other organizations.
It sounds like they earned it. So
welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Do we need to have the car on idle and have it warmed up in case anything goes? You're past
so
9 months, right?
I'm coming up on 9 months. I'm like 38 and a half-ish weeks, so coming up on 39.
3 or 4 years ago, I found out it's really 10 months. I always thought it was 9 months.
Yeah, it's so weird. Now I understand why they go by weeks. You know, it used to confuse me. Like, oh, how far along are 28 weeks? I'm like, how long? I'm like doing the math. Like, how many months is that? You know, but it's like because there's 4 weeks in a month. So technically, if you don't count the remaining half a week that's at the end of almost every month, then it's 10 months. But realistically, if you count 31 days, it's 9 months. Is that weird?
You just threw me back off again. So which is it?
It's 9 months.
Well, how about this? When's
of
your
like
due date?
30, 31 days. Because if you only count 28 days, 4 weeks,
right.
4 weeks in a month, but that's not technically a full month, right? So you add up all those half a weeks over, 10 times. It's actually like 9 months, if that makes any sense. It's really confusing, and now I understand why they just everyone goes by weeks that have had kids.
Well, when's your due date?
May 26th.
Okay, and when did you and Johnny just kidding?
Yeah, right. You count back.
May 26th, so that's less than a month.
Coming up.
So if it's 10 months, she has to be past the 9-month mark.
What?
Yeah, I am on a 10-month scale.
So you're at 9.5 months.
Yes.
Wow.
On a 10-month scale.
I believe we know the sex of the baby, right?
Yeah, it's a girl.
It's a girl. Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Things are so different since the last time we spoke to her, right? There's 2 of her now. She's a colleague on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Have we not
colleague?
seen you since our trip to Virginia?
I don't think so. By the way, how's your knee doing?
Oh, it's better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. Yeah.
Did you do a lot of rehab and everything?
I'm still doing it.
Still doing it.
It was.
It's a slow process.
So that day we all found out it was, we found out it was a. We were calling it a broken kneecap, a dislocated kneecap. So it's torn patellar tendon.
Yeah.
And it's a very serious knee injury and has a long rehab. So I'm still rehabbing. Like I go down the stairs real slow. I go up the stairs, but I can walk kind of without a limp unless it's swollen.
Yeah.
So thanks for asking. It is getting better, but I can't jog. I can't run, and it still hurts to get in and out of the car.
Yeah. Oh.
I have no quad.
Yeah, because when that tears, it kind of like pulls your quad up, right?
And I have no calf, so I have to rebuild that. The tendon itself healed.
Okay.
That's fine, but it's the muscle you have to build around it,
right?
Which helps you do things like plant
and stabilize.
Right.
Helps you stabilize. Yeah. So. Well, it's a long recovery, but I'm sure you're working hard on it. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank
How have
you.
you been?
I've been doing really good. Especially this last week, I've just had this good energy boost, which I'm hoping means I'll go into labor like really soon. I'm so ready to have this baby, and just be back to myself. I miss training. This is the longest hiatus I've ever had to take from grappling or training. So I can hit things. I can hit mitts. Not really people because they want to hit me back, but. Yeah, so I haven't been able to grapple for like nearly 9 months. I grappled, I think, in a little bit in the first trimester, but I mostly like picked my partners really carefully, and like nobody knew I was pregnant. But I would go with like the small girls in our gym, like the 115ers, because I'm like, they shouldn't be able to neon belly me. I'll be fine, And I was like, oh, and the baby's like the size of a freaking sesame seed, if that, So I was like, I'm sure I'm fine. But then after that, it was just like, I haven't been able to grapple, and I miss it. I go in the gym and I'm just like drooling at the guys on the mat just being able to train. So I miss that. I'm definitely ready to get back in action. And
you grappled the dog.
Yeah, that's true. That was not planned, but
right.
Yeah, I had to break up a dog fight to save my dog. I still got the scars on my knee. I don't think those are ever gonna go away, but that's okay.
Are you wearing shorts?
Not wearing. Well, you can see here.
Oh.
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if the camera can see that, but
wow.
I got all those scuffed up on there. But my dog's alive, so it's okay.
That was just
scary, huh?
An instinct.
Yeah, I was 7 months pregnant, and I was walking my dog, and a big old Cane Corso had gotten out of the backyard, and luckily she wasn't aggressive towards people, but she surely was to my little 9-pound Chihuahua miniature pincher mix,
She was coming to grab her by the neck?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, she was over the top of my dog, Scooter, before I had like half a second to react, and I just tackled her to rip her off of Scooter. And then I was over the top of him, and I picked him up, and she just ran off like no big deal. Like, didn't even register to her, just like, oh, well, that didn't work out, It was weird.
In your career, in your life, you've had a lot of those situations, just in fighting alone, where you have highs and lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really quick from fighting. In a situation like that, because I know you love your dog, how soon after that could you just be, like, regulate yourself and just be calm again?
What was weird is that it actually put me into I was getting contractions after that because of the endorphin release, I think, and the hormones and just like that adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
So I had I think 9 contractions in the hour, and I was pretty stressed about that because I was only 7 months along. So it's crazy how when you're pregnant you just have so much more to think about, and it kind of scared me because it was like, what if I just stressfully sent myself into labor? And so because of that and having to think about someone else that I'm carrying, and then I felt kind of guilty because I'm like, Miesha, you can't just do stuff like that, and you're carrying a child. But I didn't have time to think about that. It happened in a split second, and it was just my reaction.
Did you land on hands and knees, or did your belly touch the
my
ground,
belly
or?
touched, but that was because I was in the middle of shoving the dog. So it was kind of imagine me baseball sliding in on my knees, hitting the dog, shoving the dog off, and kind of landing on my hands and elbows. So I had skinned up my elbows and my hands as well. And then I was over the top of Scooter, so then I scooped up him, and then the dog ran off. So it was kind of more of me shoving the dog off than necessarily having to actually grapple the dog. Luckily.
Where was the owner of the other dog?
He was down around the corner, so it's really funny. I'm planning a natural home birth at home, so I've been renovating my bathroom, and that's what he does. So he got in his car because his kids told him what happened. So he got in his car, came out and around, and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It's not let me know. It gave me his card," and he's like, "A tile." He does tile. And I'm like, really? Do you do bathrooms? He's like, yeah, actually, And so now he's redone my whole bathroom.
Oh,
it's
wow.
the favorite, and he gave me good homie
favor?
discount. Yeah, I mean, I'm still paying for the labor of the employees and everything like that, but he gave me all the other stuff at cost. So
He gave you a dog incident discount?
Yes, he sure
Gotcha.
did. Yeah.
And then tying this in, it sounded like you were tying it into the birth, the natural birth you're going to give.
Yeah.
He's a part of that too?
No, he's not a part of that.
Okay.
Sorry, no, he just got the bathroom done
just
so
got the
that
bathroom
we
done,
can
gotcha.
have the baby in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting card if it did say that, though.
I know, right? /midwife.
Tile/midwife.
I don't know what you call a guy that's a midwife.
Well, yeah. What's the name of the person that's going to help you with this? It's not a doctor, right?
Marvelise. Marvelise is her name. Marvelise Lopez.
Is she a doctor?
She is actually.
Oh, okay.
She's a doctor. She got her degree, I think, in Venezuela. So she's been over, thousands of births. She's been doing for a really long time, and she's been great. So, I'm a little nervous because I just don't know when to expect, and I don't know what to expect, to be honest, either. Obviously, it's my first one, so I think I might be in a little over my head, but I know I can do it. Pain is temporary. That's something that I've definitely learned, so I'm sure it'll all be worth it in the end. That's what everybody says. As soon as you're holding the baby, you're not even thinking about it anymore.
All right.
Still
Well,
go
tell
through
you
the
what,
same-
we got to take a break.
Oh, okay.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. Ghost can get his question in, but we got to discuss UFC 224, everything that went down this past weekend in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, as well as Bellator 199 out in San Jose, California. A lot of stuff went down. A lot of controversial stuff went down. In fact, I spotted Miesha talking about it on social media, and I thought, well, hey, let's talk about it. Let's have you on the show. And, of course, we can also talk about everything going on with her in her life, including her first baby that'll be due soon, and her show on Wednesday days, nights, whatever time zone you're on, here on Sirius XM Rush 93. So give us a few minutes, and we'll be right back to talk about all that.
Calm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, right now through May 29th, you can listen to SiriusXM for free in the car and on the SiriusXM app and online. Just download our app or go to SiriusXM.com to listen to your favorite channels. While you're there, get a sneak peek of Howard Stern's video. Sorry, there's not a particular video. All right, let me have Kendra ask her question.
Yeah.
Then you can ask your question, and then we have to start on UFC 224. All right, what's up, Kendra from Humboldt? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Nice to have you, Miesha.
Hi, I'm good.
I am wondering.
Oh, there
Hello. I'm wondering, knowing that Mackenzie Dern came in 7 pounds overweight, I wonder how much impact does a menstrual cycle have on weight cutting when you know you're retaining weight, but you have to make a certain weight loss?
You know what? I think every female fighter has had to deal with that at some point, so I definitely don't want to say it's an excuse. It's just something that you should be extra prepared for. Make sure that your weight is in that close enough range to be able to make it regardless. And I just feel like by missing by 7 pounds is that there's nothing that correlates with missing a weight class by 7 pounds, especially 115 pounds, because it's 7 pounds at 115 is a lot more than 7 pounds at like heavyweight or light heavyweight. It's a really large margin. It's pretty much the next weight class. So I would definitely not excuse that. You know, if she had missed it by a pound, I might be able to justify, that probably was a little bit harder. And maybe coincidentally she just had something off. But 7 pounds is like, I just can't, I can't justify that. Sure, is it a little bit harder if it's that time of the month? Absolutely. But is it doable?
Has she proclaimed that as being an excuse? That it was her time of the month?
I don't know.
I don't think I heard that one from her.
I haven't heard that.
But you're right, 7 pounds is just out
just
of line.
Way too off.
And technically, how about this, Miesha? You said it's almost the next weight class. Get this, it's almost the next second weight class because technically 126 and a half is bantamweight. So she was already in flyweight, and at if somebody were to not make 126, you'd technically be a bantamweight per se. So yeah, it was pretty egregious.
Yeah, I'm sure she was definitely bantamweight size the next day coming into the octagon.
Yeah. Kendra?
Knowing that, Miesha, you spanned a couple of weight classes, how difficult is it to really be more optimal at a 125-pound class, but you have to perform at 135 for so long?
Thanks for the questions.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to answer that as it's still like opposing to Dern, because I never fought at 125. I fought at 135, and I fought really fat and happy at 145 early in my career. I didn't cut any weight for that weight class. But spanning over 2 different weight classes, I mean, you really just have to find the one that your body sits at and performs best. I think Mackenzie Dern would actually probably do really well at 125. I don't understand like her being adamant to be at 115, but I feel like it's definitely not fair to the girls that are making the weight. They're really small, and obviously when she gets a hold of them, it's you're in trouble when she gets a hold. But 125, the girls are going to be just a little bit slower anyways, and since she always wants to grab and get a hold of people, you would think that it wouldn't be such a bad idea to want to get a hold of the girls that aren't going to move around quite as quick like little flying squirrels at 115.
Well, now that Kendra, the female, got her MMA questions out of the way, goes the male. You want to ask that follow-up on the pregnancy?
Yeah. What do you think of George's beard? Do you like it or not?
I do, actually. Yeah, I dig it.
Want to get to the fights?
No, nice. You wanted to ask a pregnancy question. Go ahead. All right, follow the MMA question. Throw the whole show off.
The pregnancy question was if you're doing a home birth, do you still have to go through all the things that other people have to go through, like the Lamaze breathing and all those classes? Do they apply as well, or is this a complete different mindset?
They definitely do, but it's subjective. It's whatever you want to take. So, Johnny and I have taken some home birthing classes. He's taken some, expecting dad classes. So we just want to be, I think we're ultra prepared, but you never feel like you're prepared enough, especially when it's your first one, because you have no idea what to expect. So, the good thing about midwife too is that, each of our appointments is an hour to an hour and a half. So we have a ton of material that we cover where I hear, hospital appointments sometimes they're just like 15 minutes, like, doctors in and out, everything good, yep, okay, check the blood pressure, good, and the nurse does all that anyways, and then they're like, all right, see you later, So I just feel like we're much more in tune with everything that's going to be going on and what to be expected. And no offense to you guys out there, but I think it's better to have a woman who's had children of her own and been at many, many births to be there to guide another female and sort of empower her than, to have the doctor come in, glove up, all right, let's catch the baby. That's really how it works. And you're not even guaranteed to have the same doctor who was with you your entire pregnancy actually be the one to catch your baby. It's whoever's on shift at a hospital. So those are just a few of the things why I decided to do home birth. But I want to be totally empowered and have my body do what it does. I want to be able to feel everything. I don't want to be numb. I don't want an epidural pushed on me. I don't want any of that stuff. I think it's the best way that I can bring her into this world. Women have been doing it for thousands of years. If we weren't made to do it, no, I don't think any of us would be here, right?
All right. Well, it turns out the doctor, or the lady, is a doctor anyway. What was her name? Harvest? Autumn?
Marvelise.
Close, George.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about UFC 224, which took place this past weekend. Amanda Nunes defended her belt against Rocky Pendleton.
Pendleton.
Rocky Pennington. Raquel Pennington. Her nickname's Rocky. The fight went 4.5 rounds pretty much. And Nunes, although she dominated, I still felt like Pennington had a good showing of herself. She battled. She was coming off a long layoff. I thought she deserved it. She threw some hands, caught Amanda's chin a couple times, but to Amanda Nunes' credit, it didn't seem to affect her. Amanda's also addressed those long-time concerns about cardio. She was just as strong towards the end as she was in the beginning. Really, really enjoyed the fight. But I think what people really want to talk about the most is the controversy at the very end. At the end of round 4, Raquel Pennington goes to her corner and says, I'm done. She says it first to the cut man that was working on her and coach that's there, and then she turns around because her lead head coach is in the back, and she says, I'm done. And the coach encourages her.
Did she say, I want to be done? Is that the quote-unquote, I want to be done? That's the quote that I heard.
Said, I'm done.
I heard both.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first time is you have to really, really catch it. The first time is while she's facing the octagon. Then she turned around and said, I want to be done.
I want to be done. Okay.
The coach encourages her to keep fighting, to reconsider her decision, and then he says a few things like, we can recover later. And of course, that got picked apart, man, everywhere on social media. Pennington, I imagine, absorbs all this and then turns around and goes and fights. That's when I immediately tweeted respect. She had a decision. She got input from her corner. She went out there and she fought. Then, of course, things got worse. And look, this is what I was saying early before the show even started. We're all going to have opinions. And I've seen people I respect on both sides. And I don't know that there's a wrong or a right because it was her decision. And we don't know what the dynamic of that coaching is with her and her coach. But I still stand by, I liked what the coach did to encourage her and push her. Because I think it's the same thing we've seen on TV or we've all heard about where fighters just go back to the weight cut itself. And fighters are like, oh, man, my coach was taking me in and out and I made weight. It's like the coach can empower you to push yourself past certain limits. I think that's what this coach was doing. And Raquel went out there and goes, and I rewatched the fight and goes, you saw it was like 2 or 3 times where she connected on her chin, right? How do we know that one of those just couldn't have been it? Just all I got to do is look at the young lady to my right who in the 5th round dug deep and managed to get a submission over the incumbent, which was Holly Holm at the time. You were losing on the judges' scorecards. So anything can happen, right? The only thing I'll say is, and then I'll be done, I'll let you guys talk, is when Raquel did get taken down, which was about 90 seconds into the 5th, I do feel that the coach at that point could have physically thrown in the towel, or what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to alert the other official, who will then alert the official that the towel's been thrown in, because many referees inside will not, if they may not see the towel, or they may not, there's certain commissions that don't allow for an in-tile stoppage of the fight. So you're technically supposed to alert the other official, and then they'll alert the referee.
Every time I've ever been there, they're like, nothing goes inside the octagon, but the fighters and the ref. Like, you're not allowed to throw things in there.
That's a little technicality there of what could happen. And the reason why is because I felt like what Raquel had a chance with was her hands, and once she got taken down, I felt like that was it. But it was it.
But even then, you can question, like, what if she would have got back up? Or what if she would have reversed it and been on top? Rocky has really good ground and pound, especially when she's standing above someone. I know that. I mean, it's one of her strengths. So not to just insert myself, but I know that's what I'm here to talk about.
Yeah.
I think that she should have had every opportunity to succeed because she signed up for 5 rounds, and if she wouldn't have gone out for the 5th round, it would have lasted a lifetime for her. It would have been a lifetime of regret. And I know that she's injured now, and some people are mortified at the idea that she was sent back out there and, slaughtered like a little lamb is kind of what I feel like people are looking at it like, like how dare her coach and corner do that, how selfish. But realistically, I think that he was trying to pull the most out of her, which is a coach's job. There's been times when I'm in the gym and I'm like, I don't know, like I don't feel like going this 4th round, or I'm in a weight cut and I'm just like, struggling a little bit mentally, and your coach is always there to remind you, you got this, you're going to be all right. Take a deep breath. Like, this is what we signed up for. This is what your job is. Job is fighting. You signed the dotted line. And if she had gone out there and finished it or figured it out in that 5th round, she could be a world champion right now. Like, why should she rob herself of that opportunity in a moment of weakness? There's a dark place that you have to go to get in the 5th round of a fight. And it doesn't matter if you've been winning or if you are losing. Like, you got to dig deep mentally, and that's exactly what your coach's job is to do. And that's why I think coaches are really underrated, is because everybody sees, them holding pads and things like that. What they don't realize is the coach's job is also mental and emotional, to steer the ship a little bit, to like give you that positive input. And I think he did a great job. He didn't want to let her quit on herself, and I don't think she wanted to quit on herself either. But she was exhausted. She's in a place like going into a 5th round, like seeing very little hope, but there was still hope. There was still left. And just when you think you don't have anything left in the gas tank, you always have a little bit more. And I think he wanted to give her the chance to go out there and do what she does best. That's fight.
Goes?
No, I think she said it perfectly. There's a physician ringside, and I think they're in charge of the fighter physically. I think if he would have seen something that was alarming, he would have came and he would have had the opportunity to stop the fight. The mental side, which is what I think she was going through, that's more on her and on the coach. And I think the coach made a decision probably based, I'm sure there were moments in training where she was probably broken, and maybe he's pushed her
no doubt about it.
over, and he knows this fighter best. So I thought he made a decent decision there. And even those 2 situations past, Raquel had the opportunity at any moment to tell the referee, I'm also done. So I would lean towards he made the right call.
Dan?
It's tough, From a black and white protocol perspective, it's hard to say like someone didn't come short, whether it was your opinion, the corner, or not so much the ringside physician, but the officials. I'm not sure, Miesha, you're probably more familiar with this, but aren't they supposed to be kind of listening in and as well as watching to make sure that no illegal stuff's going on? So I don't know what their protocol is.
The commission official?
Yes, the commission official. So I don't know what their protocol is when they hear a fighter say that. It's really tough. I think Miesha articulated great the other side of it that people might not understand as far as coaches having to draw you out of that. Maybe it's something that it's in the gym and only the coach knows the fighter. I will say this. I didn't like what I saw, but I also feel like a hypocrite saying that because, my favorite moment of the fight card was Jack Hermansson's win. And if you look earlier in that fight card, Jack Hermansson was doing pretty well. I think he won the 1st round against Talis Leydes. And then early in the 2nd round, it looks like a knee injury, but it ends up being a rib injury. He's in pain where he is verbally screaming out. And as you know, according to the rules, that can be classified as a verbal tap depending on how the ref wants to take it. And the ref was very attentive. He said, Jack, do you need me to step in here? The ref was this close to stepping in. It looked like a foregone conclusion. He fought out of deep submissions from Talis Leydes, a multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. It looked like he was done, right? He got submitted by the same submission as just his last trip to Brazil. Hermansson makes it out, comes out in the 3rd, gets on top, gets to his strength, and finishes the fight. And is one of the most beautiful, and he's just screaming in pain after. It's one of the most beautiful things. So I feel like a hypocrite saying that I can praise that and then be upset with the Pennington thing. But I will say this, and it's something that I think Miesha can perhaps weigh in much better than I can. I think the part that's missing from both sides of the argument is the fighter psychology. And just a lot of people are surprised, why could they throw a fighter in there? And then a lot of those same people are just as surprised when they hear a fighter. Like I think Gilbert Melendez recently said that. He said, they're like, were you mad at your corner for sending you back out when you said that you were done after your leg was beat up and you went out and you just took more of a beating? And Gil Melendez said, oh, I'm so happy. I'm glad my corner talked me into that. Talking about that relationship Miesha was just talking about. And of course fans are kind of enthralled about that. Like, oh my gosh, how can we get that? And I don't think people understand that reward system. I think that people that come up fighting or in martial arts kind of have instilled in them. And I don't think people take that for an account when they see these rings and corners communicating. Do you kind of get what I'm saying here, Miesha?
Absolutely. And from a fighter's perspective, I definitely don't want to put words in Raquel's mouth, but I feel like I know her fairly well, having been on my season of The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, she's extremely mentally tough. So I think, she hit a rock bottom, but she dug out of it. And sometimes it's just that quick turnaround. Fighters fight. And I cannot see fighting any other way. If it was acceptable to stop in between rounds, our sport would not be the sport that we love today. And I also think too that possibly if this was a male fight, that we wouldn't really be having as heavily of a discussion. I think that people are more upset because they saw a woman go out there and she got bloodied and battered and her nose was far worse off and she got cut and she just the visible damage that was done in that 5th round, they immediately turned back to the man that sent her out to her demise. We don't know what was going to happen in the 5th round. I would have done the same thing if I was in Raquel's corner. I would have said, no, like, you trained way too hard for this. You worked way too hard for this. You came back from this injury. You came back from this long layoff. You have a chance here to win a world title. You're going to go out there and fight, and if you're going to go out, you're going to go out on your shield. And that's exactly what she did, and I think that Raquel, like, knowing her mental status, I think she's proud of herself for digging beyond where she thought she couldn't go, like going past that place. And that's what fighters do. Fighters go beyond the breaking point. And it's just part of what we do. And I don't think that maybe somebody who hasn't been in that position can understand the kind of mental fortitude it takes. But we practice that in the gym. We go through those breaking points in the gym so that when you get to that point in a fight, or if you get to that point in a fight, you know that you can get beyond it. And all you need is just a little bit of support from the people around you to remind you in that moment, like, you're still good. Like, you got this. You're all right, And like I said, if she had gone out there and found that punch that she'd been looking for this whole time, everyone would be calling her corner a genius. Good thing you didn't let her quit,
Right. True.
The physical damage will heal, but the mental, emotional damage of giving up on yourself in a 4th round, between rounds, would not heal.
We got to take this break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. I do want to say on the way out, one last thing to add. Rocky had not been knocked down. She had been kicked in the leg. So she had leg damage, which she could recover from, but it's not like there was anything like any form of a knockout where you could tell all the fighters not even thinking clearly. So that's another thing I felt like in support of the corner still being completely right and putting her back out there. All right, we'll be right back. We'll talk more about this.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Tune in to NBA Radio, Series 207, XM86, and listen for the hourly cue to call for your chance to win airfare, hotel accommodations, and 2 tickets to Game 4 of the NBA Finals. For official rules and details, go to SiriusXM.com/SiriusXM NBA channel, NBA Radio before May 22nd. All right, I want to make sure I got that right. SiriusXM.com/SiriusXM. That's where you need to go. We just have a couple minutes here before the top of the hour. What'd you guys think of Jacare and Gastelum? That was a battle, wasn't it?
It was a good fight. I was a little surprised at the scores, though. I had it differently.
Yeah. You had it for Jacare 2-1?
Yeah. And if we're using the new rules, I actually thought a 10-8 could have been in order for round 1.
And they were using the new rules. What do you think, Dan?
I think it could have been a draw for a 10-8 round 1, but even though I picked Souza, I actually scored it 2-1 for Gastelum. But I think a lot of it has to do with how gassed Souza looked from the second round onward, which is a crime because he was landing quality shots throughout the third.
I know. That's what I was telling Goes. When Souza, after the first round, was really, really tired. In fact, Cordero was pointing it out to Gastelum. But Souza, when he did get hit, he had that, like, the moment where the fighter's just about to collapse. And I think the judges were like, oh, wait a minute, that's damage. This guy's about to go out. Whereas when Souza hit Gastelum solid, which I don't know where he's getting the power from, being so exhausted, Gastelum, especially with his hair, it would just kind of like wave up in the air. He would take it like a champ and just keep going. So it looked like Souza was landing harder shots, but Gastelum hits hard too. Every time he hit Souza, it just looks like Souza was just, so wobbly. I don't know. I was confused by the scoring. How'd you see it, Miesha?
I figured with the judging that I knew, I felt like Gastelum had won the fight. And I'm a huge Souza fan, so that's just how I anticipated that the scoring was going to go. But I'm not really familiar with the new 10-8 rule. Explain that. I mean, obviously.
So basically, we have 1 minute left. Yeah, basically you can get to the 10-8 a lot quicker if you're being dominant. And we all felt like Jacare was dominant enough
really
for the first.
Dominant.
That could have been a 10-8.
Right. He got knocked down in the second round. Yeah, that was the one where he got put down.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, how a knockdown maybe could be like a 10-8 in a round 2 or anything like that.
It's not like boxing where it's automatic. Yeah. And his follow-up, as was pointed by Goes to me, he threw like 8 to 10 punches, but only a couple of them landed. But like I was telling Goes, look at the position they're in. If the judges are in the back, they may be thinking all of them are landing. We're watching it because we have the benefit of this camera and seeing that about 3s landed flush and a couple didn't. It's so confusing. But I thought they were going to give it to Jacare. I'm okay with them giving it to Gastelum. But I thought they were going to give it to Jacare, especially them being in Brazil. But, people say that all the time. Is it the influence of the crowd? I don't know. Because the names they were saying was American judges. So it's not like they were Brazilian judges. But, all right, we got to get to this top of the hour break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Call in. It's 866-522-2846. We got about 15 minutes left with Miesha Tate. We'll be right back.
Lawrence.
Strike Force and UFC Bantamweight champion Miesha Tate here in studio. She co-hosts here on Sirius XM Rush 93 on Wednesdays. Catch her show at 1 p.m. Pacific or 4 Eastern, along with Sean O'Connell. It's MMA Tonight. You enjoying doing that, Miesha?
It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Let me move that back up. I was drinking my water. No, it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. Every Wednesday is, it's like Happy Hump Day, and we get to kind of talk about the transition between last weekend and the weekend coming in, but it's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy being in here with you guys, and so I figured it would be a natural kind of mesh, but hosting's a little bit different than just coming in and running my mouth like here I am. You guys just ask me the question and I just go, but it's definitely fun. I'm really enjoying it. I look forward to it every week.
There's a lot to talk about from this past week, and I want to give a quick congratulations to Vitor Belfort. It looks like he's officially retired from at least the UFC. He left his gloves out there after a vicious KO from Lyoto Machida. Look, he's had a lot of ups and downs and controversies, but he accomplished a lot, and he definitely will be regarded as a legend in our sport. And then also the World MMA Awards. Today is the first day you can vote. We got a 2016 Comeback of the Year winner here in studio with us. And, of course, our website's been nominated for Media Source of the Year.
That is right there. I recognize that trophy.
That's what it is, yeah. That's 1 of 5, by the way.
Yeah,
yes.
Just not enough room on the desk. But
Congratulations.
Thank you. We'd love to get another one, though. Them damn fighting and Sherdog guys have gotten started getting their licks in. And so we're going to war here, man.
Plus 6 is an even number.
If 6 is an even number, we'd love to get it. So we would appreciate your vote. I always say this. Even if you don't vote for us, just go out there and vote. Say that you, as a fan, you gave an opinion and voted for someone. That's the important thing.
But vote for MMAjunkie.
But we wouldn't hate you. We wouldn't hate you. Wouldn't be mad at you if you did. I think we're the best website, and then therefore I completely endorse you going out there and doing it. It'd be a damn shame if you didn't. Now that I think about it, let's talk to Marco in Waco, Texas. I'm jumping everywhere here. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco. ¿Qué pasa, Vatos? And Miesha Tate.
¿Qué pasa, Vato?
Hello.
Hey, Miesha. Super happy that you're doing the home birth, but I got a little bit of a nightmare scenario. My first wife, my ex-wife in Germany, everything was going normal. Went to 12 hours labor. All of a sudden, her blood pressure dropped dramatically, and they rushed her to emergency C-section. So, you got contingency plans for when something goes wrong?
Yeah, we
just
do.
asking.
We've actually toured the hospital. We're about 6 minutes away from there, and if there's any signs that anything needs to be transferred to where we would need more medical assistance, then nobody's going to try to be a hero. We're all just we're gonna go. But midwife is like very, very in tune with everything that's going on. So I don't think we'll have something where we. I don't foresee something really bad like that happening, but if it does, she said that she will be on the lookout, monitoring everything that we would need to have ample warning to get to hospital if we need to. So,
who are you gonna have for a driver?
What was that?
Who are you gonna have for a driver? Like maybe Quentin Rampage Jackson? Or
right, I don't know. Well, he said Eric Nixick was a good one.
Eric Nixick's
a
good driver.
Our
gym
manager and Big Brother
back and forth.
He sure was.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Real quick on this weekend, let's all agree that the Ezekiel choke should be called the Olenek choke from now on, because how many times he have pulled that move out? 4 times?
The Ezekiel choke was slick, man, over Junior Albini.
Yep.
What weight class is that in? Another big. It is heavyweight. Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, I'm not sure if that move only works in heavyweights. It might be the case. It might only work in a heavyweight division. Because it's... Hey, I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I think it's really cool. But heavyweights are notorious for not really having a very widely educated ground game. Because they're big guys. They slug it out. That's what they do, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a guy that's good on the ground or doing something that particularly isn't seen very often, especially in no-gi. Sometimes it's just a matter of not really knowing the proper defense or realizing that you're even in something.
Yeah. Last thing, Lyoto Machida pulled that crane technique again. Oddly enough, I watched Cobra Kai the day before, so go figure. And then Vitor Belfort received the second front kick to the face. One for Anderson, one for Lyoto, man. Go figure. Go karate. Peace out.
All right, we'll see you. In fact, that should lead into our daily debate question that we have here. While Miesha's here, I'd love for her to chime in. This is the daily debate question for the day, brought to you by the MMA Junkie radio team and Miesha Tate, the host of MMA Tonight on Sirius XM Rush 93, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. Which of the following main card KOs/TKOs was the most impressive at UFC 224 and Bellator 199? Let me give you 4 options here. Bader versus Mo Lawal. John Lineker versus Brian Kelleher. Lyoto Machida versus Vitor Belfort. Aaron Pico versus Morrison. You look like you want to go first, Go ahead.
It's a slam dunk. It's Lyoto Machida for me. Guys, it's not just the actual move. It's the setup and the build-up. If you think it just happened on the fly, it didn't. Watch about a minute before. He's setting it up little by little. Lyoto Machida is the master of that.
Yeah.
So for him to kind of get Vitor looking one way and then land
and his
the other,
footwork, he kept measuring the distance, and he had landed a couple straight to the body to throw him off. Plus, he was throwing his arms up in the air. It was a thing of beauty. How about you, Miesha? Which one did you like the best?
Yeah, I kind of. So I didn't. To be fair, I didn't get to see the first round of the fight. I saw the highlight afterwards, and it kind of made my heart sink a little bit because I know that Vitor has just taken a lot of damage over the time. I kind of like the Bellator fight though because
the Bader over Mo Lawal.
Yeah, because I just didn't expect it. I guess maybe it was just a surprise. Like if somebody would have asked me later, oh, could you have seen Lyoto Machida knock out Belfort like that, I would have been like, well, yeah. It didn't surprise me as much, I guess, as seeing King Mo just go out like that. And it was quick. I mean, it was just a really dominant performance. So I guess the surprise factor was whoa, I didn't really see that coming like that. So for me, that's kind of the fight that I really liked. And Lineker, I mean, he went out there and did what he was just a heavy slugger. That was a great fight.
Yeah.
That was a great fight. But again, didn't really surprise me. I kind of figured that it might go something like that.
All right. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, Lineker-Kelleher fight was a great fight. And I love the liver shot, that Pico landed. I really wanted to go to that, but how can I not go with Lyoto Machida? I mean, that thing was right out of a Akira Kurosawa film, something out of Seven Samurai.
Right.
It was a thing of beauty. And he just takes his pose afterwards and knows the job is done. I mean, you couldn't script something better than that. And anything that feels like a movie we're getting to see in the octagon, it's hard not to side with that, so I got to go with Lyoto.
I'm with you guys. I like Miesha said, it's not like I wasn't. I mean, it's not like there was going to be much of a shock value there. Vitor or Machida could have taken each other out, but I guess it was just going back to the kick, same kick that took out Randy, and now the fact that the common theme is Randy retired afterwards, and it looks like Vitor's retiring, and I think Lyoto's calling it a retirement tour front kick. He wants Bisping next. Who knows? But Machida had a rough time of it. He was out for almost 2.5 years, and now he's come back and gone 2-1. Lost to Brunson, beat Anders, and beat Belfort, and he was the man. He beat another Brazilian. These Brazilians don't fight each other too often. The results are 1,120 of you voted. 71% went with Machida over Belfort. 16% for Bader and Lawal. The others trail behind at 7% and 6%. Lineker and Pico, respectively. All right. Miesha, how do you feel the health of women's MMA is, especially at your division, 135? We've had you retire, Ronda retire, although she says she hasn't officially done it, but I think we can all say she's retired. Juliana Pena just gave birth to a baby, and I don't see that there's been any talk of her coming back anytime soon. And then we have Chris Cyborg, who needs opponents, and so 35ers are getting pulled up.
Right.
And then before Raquel, the previous challenger to Amanda Nunes has just gone to 25 in Valentina.
Yeah.
That division was so much fun a while back ago, and it's taken a hit.
It has, yeah. And then we have Holly Holm, like you said, going up to 145 every
To
once
fight
in a while.
Megan, yeah.
Right, and then we have
Jermaine
Kat.
went up.
Kat Zingano was, a presence in the division, but recently, I don't know. I mean, she's on like quite a skid, so that's unfortunate as well. But
and Alexis and Carmouche, I believe, dropped in their last fights to 25. So
I think that's why they didn't want to open 125 for a while, because they knew, and then you open 145. So now we have 135 kind of dispersing, so to speak. But it's opening opportunities, and you're going to see people like Ketlin Vera.
I think she's the next. She's 4-0 in the UFC, so I think she's going to get the next.
She's 10-0 overall.
Yeah.
So it's going to open the door for more stars to rise. But we are in a bit of a drought, I think, in the 135-pound division, and part of that is the opening sort of the other divisions. But opens opportunity for new stars to arise. We just got to realize there's always ebb and flow. We're in a little bit of an ebb, but it'll come back. It'll come around, and I think if we just give it a little time, a little love and support, and just kind of hang on for a minute, we'll watch the 125 develop, watch 145, 115, 135 will make its way back around.
Now, aside from being a mom soon and hosting a show on our network, you're also still managing, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that going? Is that select with a few friends here and there? Are you looking to grow your stable and become one of them super agents like Ali and Malky and Brian Butler?
You know what? I think I want to keep it small and intimate if possible, just, so I have focus on the key fighters and we don't get too over our heads. But I mean, maybe expansion with time if we bring more people on. But we're small. We want to be really focused on who we're working with, and as opposed to really spreading ourselves thin. But maybe a couple years from now, maybe that'll change. But right now, that's how I see it. I don't really want more than like 10 fighters.
Are you a branch of what you had through Harvick, or are you on your own?
No, we started AO8 management, so it's Art of 8 management, and we're just doing our own thing. Yeah. So I partnered up with Reynolds Management, who manages in the entertainment industry Imagine Dragons and the Killers. So we partnered to create our own sports management firm. So it's kind of like two separate branches, but they actually work really well together. And sometimes we even get some great cross promotion with fighters going over to the sort of the music world and vice versa. I actually met Imagine Dragons at Life is Beautiful festival, and then we did School is Beautiful together. And they're such great workers in the community. They came out and did a private show for a school up north that was known for having kids that just struggle a little bit to stay in school, not a high graduation rate, and went out there and they played a private concert for them, and we all just encouraged them to seek different positions in life and stay in school and do good things. It was they're really, really good people.
Speaking of Harvick, I don't know if you still keep in touch with him.
Yeah.
He's won 4. I'm not
He's
the
doing
big
great.
NASCAR guy, but that stands out to me. I believe he's won 4 times this year, and I don't know if it's 4 in a row, but that season starts in February with the Daytona, and we're in early May, and he's won 4 races. That's quite a
He's a
year.
badass. He can definitely drive a car. That's who I should have on call to drive me to the hospital.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that? Hello.
That'd be perfect.
Like, Kevin, you have 2 hours to get here. Get on a plane. Get on your private jet. I'm going into labor. I need you on backup.
That's funny. All right. Well, listen, I know you got to get going soon. Everything else just gets put on hold. Fox.
Yeah.
And what about the show? Will you still be able to pop in pretty soon?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping not too long of a hiatus. I don't like to take time off, so I'm planning on just a couple 2-3 weeks maybe. But if I can get one of the home systems so I can do it at home, I think I'll be able to do it a lot easier.
Where do you do it at?
I do it at the CBS station, so it's not very far from home, but I just think I'd be able to return probably a week or 2 sooner if I can get the home kit. But actually, that brings me to I need to call out Michael Bisping, because he still has the home recording system that I actually need. So, Michael, if you are not too busy, if you could return that to Sirius so that I could have mine in home. And then I don't have to drive to the studio every week.
When I had my knee problem, I was phoning in, or whatever you call it. I was tapping into the system for 2 months, right, guys?
Yeah.
You guys were holding down the fort, and I was from home. And, like Ghost says, it is pretty convenient.
Yeah.
I would just sit, on a big medicine ball, and I had my little Jack Russell Terrier there, and I would just do the show. But,
Yeah,
It is
so that's
addicting.
kind of what I'm hoping. I have a whole room that was set up for podcasting anyways. Has those like foam absorbing things on the walls,
Oh,
and it's
cool.
yeah. So it's all ready. It's all my house is prepped for it, and I think it would just make everything a little easier.
Got time for one more question?
Sure.
Amanda Nunes, what fight or what is out there do you believe for her to become the greatest one of the greatest mixed martial artists female of all time? Because this is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying she may not be there. What can take her over that?
Isn't that so hard to really decide like what makes someone the greatest of all time when you have just so many like people to compare it to, and you have like Ronda, which I know a lot of people don't want to give her that credit, but I mean you look at it and it was very impressive what she did in her career at that time. You got to take time stamp into consideration. So I mean personally I would love to see Amanda fight Cyborg. I think she possesses a long enough range, enough power, and enough speed to pose problems. And that's, that would be a really interesting fight. Obviously, if she beat Cyborg, she would, without question, be the greatest of all time. But even a good win over a 10-0 Ketlin Vieira, I keep saying Vieira. It's Vera. Sorry. Right?
It's Vieira.
Vieira? Am I saying it right? Okay, I was saying it right. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I think a good win over her, begs the question whether she's the greatest of all time. She's already kind of in that conversation right now, so I don't know. That's always a tough one for me to like decide on who's the greatest of all time. But yeah.
Right on. Well, you're definitely one of them, and I want to thank you very much for stopping by and co-hosting this first hour. I guess we probably won't be seeing you by the time you're a mommy, so good luck with all that.
Thank you, and thank you guys for the shout out on Saturday too. That was really cool. I was like, I know I'm pregnant because I'm really emotional after that. Everyone was like, Happy Mother's Day. I was like, oh,
awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We enjoyed doing it. I hope you have a happy and safe delivery, and
appreciate that.
Hopefully, when the everything stabilizes at home, we can have you back or via the phone or back in studio. It'd be great to see you again.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much.
Folks, that's Miesha Tate. Follow her on Twitter at Miesha Tate. We're going to take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
When all our shadows disappear.
A landmark Supreme Court ruling has overturned the ban on sports gambling, paving the way for the possibility of state-by-state legalization of sports gambling. The Vegas Stats and Information Network is discussing the impact and the future of sports betting right now on Sirius 204 and on the Sirius XM app. Wow. Pretty big news. Would you say so?
I wonder if that's going to affect if we're going to be able to play. Does that mean we're going to be able to play DraftKings and fantasy stuff here on in Vegas? Does it not even affect us because we already had quote unquote legal sports gaming? You know, mine's more the online fantasy stuff.
We were a state that couldn't do it, I believe.
Yeah,
I thought it was big news until I saw people say it's probably gonna get overturned anyway.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's also the fact of like a lot of the hardcore bettors like these props that only the offshore places kind of offer. A lot of these houses don't offer props, so a lot of the offshore places will still. I don't think they're going to see a dramatic shift in business right away.
If they do, props to them, right?
Yeah, there we go. Props.
Yeah, I think eventually every state will allow sports gambling, and what kind of an impact it'll have on Vegas, I don't know, because Vegas has turned into a different type of destination anyway, where you can just still come out and do the things you're not supposed to talk about, aside from betting on sports. But you know, I don't know, man. It's just got this vibe and this feel, and you know, I know those Indian reservation, Native American reservations have impacted Vegas, but I mean, have you? If anything, doesn't Vegas seem as full and as packed as ever?
Yeah, I mean, I think they affect a little bit, but it's minor, dude. No, I mean, if you were the age that we were when we lived back in California, would you ever say, man, I really want to go to Vegas, but let's go get our fix at Pachanga? Like,
that's what I'm saying. That, and the one advantage they have is 18 years of age, but again, over there, you can do everything, but still not to the level of what you can do you know, here in Vegas.
These are the Indian Chiefs need. They need to do. They need to get the DJs in like Vegas is doing here. You know, Chief Running Hawk needs to get
Tiesto.
Yeah, get Tiesto to
they got money,
casino,
man. There's some beautiful establishments throughout the United States, and a lot of them do have money, and a lot of them can battle. But Vegas is one hotel right next to the other, and it's tough. It's tough to battle that. All right, do we have our next guest?
I think we're still trying to situate things.
Okay.
Right, Danny? Said standby.
Standby, okay. All right, so I want to thank Dan Henderson and Miesha Tate, our earlier guests on today's show. And
I want to thank you because you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
That was a great lineup for a Monday.
There and ready.
Look at that.
All right, so now...
There goes Danny stealing his thunder.
All right.
So I didn't even say that on the air.
So we had Dan Henderson, Miesha Tate, and then how about this for a triple threat? Mauro Ranallo, man, future Hall of Famer in pro wrestling, boxing, and MMA. He's the most incredible announcer I've ever heard in my life. But let me tell you something, folks. On May 25th, cancel all your plans, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on Showtime. You got to sit at home and watch the Bipolar Rock and Roller, which will premiere during Mental Health Awareness Month. And it is amazing. I've seen a little bit more than just the preview, and I was just blown away. I can't wait to watch it again. It's raw and revealing documentary chronicling Mauro and his lifelong battle with mental illness, which if you follow him on Twitter, you've seen him talk about it a lot, but you will see a lot of things that you'll learn more about Mauro himself, his family. It's really, really cool, man. I can't say enough about it, and I can't wait for all of you to see it. Joining us now on the hotline is Mauro Ranallo. What's up, Mauro? How you doing?
First of all, how long have we known each other, Gorgeous George?
Over 10 years.
Over what,
maybe
10 years?
15, maybe even when you were doing the Pride. And I was
maybe even 15,
Frank Trigg's buddy.
right to the beginning. So 2003.
Yeah.
Finally, after 15 years of dealing with your wonderful show and interviews, you actually read exactly word for word from the script I sent you when it comes to introducing me. It is about time you get on point there, brother. Anyway, guys, thank you so very much, as always, for having me, and it's great to be on a show with two people who have been very important and integral to my career, and Dan Henderson and Miesha Tate. So many incredible memories that they provided us, and I was so blessed to be at cage side and ringside as it pertains to Hendo for many of their wonderful memories. And guys, I really do appreciate the opportunity to talk about something that I, in my wildest imagination, and you guys know how crazy and wild my imagination could be, I never thought that I would actually live to see a documentary about my life come to fruition. So I'm glad it's here, and I'm glad to be able to raise awareness for something that impacts all of us.
Mauro, it's amazing. Look, we can almost divide what I felt into two. One, I learned a lot more about my friend, just, seeing your family, where you came from in British Columbia. And I've read about this. I've read about it, and you told me about at 16, how you were already involved with pro wrestling. But just they were able to grab some of that footage, amazing footage, and then they were able to catch up with so many people along the way. And then, of course, the other part, like you said, chronicling your lifelong battle with mental illness. You revealed something to us which took a lot of courage. You were very brave in doing that. But I think it's going to go so far for so many people, so I commend you for that.
And George, thank you very much. And first and foremost, that is the only reason that this thing is seeing the light of day. I don't pretend to think that anyone would be remotely interested in my life otherwise, although, again, personally speaking, I have had quite the journey, illness aside, just, being raised on a chicken farm, literally on a dead-end road, in the countryside of the beautiful Fraser Valley of British Columbia. There was no way on earth that anyone who was my family or was around me when I was growing up thought that I would achieve what I have, except for one person, and that was yours truly. And I knew very early, and my mom and dad have the footage they even talk about in the doc where I'm interviewing my stuffed animals and my toys at the age of 2 and 3 with an empty toilet paper tube, was always only quiet when the radio or the TV was on, immediately immersed in the sounds that I was hearing and already visualizing, even though I didn't know the word, what it meant at the time, what I was going to do in my life. And from day one with All-Star Wrestling and how that came to pass at 16, to even calling Pride Fighting Championships and being on American network television when MMA, thanks to Kimbo Slice and Elite XC, came to CBS, all of it were things that I thought of, and I did believe in myself, even though I would not say it to anyone, nor even pretend to think that any of it was even had a chance to come true. And of course, when you then couple it with the struggles that I had at a very early age, with not only the illness that I was diagnosed as being bipolar with mixed states, which is a rare variety, but I was a hypersensitive child. At a very young age, I became obsessed with death. And I know when my grandfather, my dad's side, passed away when I was very young, about 8 or 9 years old, and holding it in until I got to school, and then asking everybody at school how old were their parents, and trying to compute in my mind when they were going to die. Like I was a messed up kid in many, many different ways, but always believed in my dreams. And thankfully, I did very well in school. I was, always a ham, always a class clown, always someone who was trying to perform. I was lead in plays in school, and I always read out loud and tried to pretend I was already on TV and radio then. And so when it came to being discovered at 16 in my high school and launching the career, and looking back, and you will see some of this on the footage that, thankfully my family saved from the days of the camcorders, the VHS tapes when I began my career in 1986, you actually see me not only, performing, but the mania is there. And that is also something else about this documentary and this illness. I am blessed as much as I am cursed with being bipolar. If I were not bipolar, I would not be talking to you right now. That would be guaranteed. And because I am bipolar, I am very fortunate to be talking to you right now, because unfortunately the stigma that is attached to it, especially with men, has cost millions of people their lives. And the biggest reason that I'm making this documentary is not only because it was cathartic for me to do, but in hopes of saving just one life. Because I have been there, and I continue to be there on a daily basis, wondering maybe this is the day that my mind tells me it's over. So, again, that's the sole reason, is to raise awareness for something that impacts 5% of the American population is at number one around the world, depression, the number one killer around the world. And so many guys, we talk about football, we talk about the fights, we talk about, the family, we talk about our jobs, but when we ask ourselves, hey, how you doing, buddy? Hey, I'm good, I'm fine. You don't want to show weakness because, well, showing weakness, you're weak, you're nobody, you're a loser, you're supposed to be the alpha male, you're supposed to be the man. No, it's okay to not be okay. And the fact that you don't talk about it, again, has cost people their lives. That cannot be stressed enough. There have been people, including yours truly, that wake up and wonder if the chandelier is going to be able to hold our weight. So you tell me, by me simply talking to you right now, I know I'm helping myself. Just imagine, something we do for free every day, something that a higher power has instilled in us, our voice, and we do not choose to use it to try to help not only ourselves but each other. Get rid of this fucking stigma, and I pardon for my French. But the sooner that we stop treating mental illness like someone is a disease in themselves, that you think they're a menace to society. No, we're the only people that are truly should be scared of being mentally ill, the ones who have to deal with it on a daily basis, my friends. So, needless to say, I'm on the soapbox. I'm probably wasting the entire interview just talking to you like I am now, but I'm tired, and it's been a long day already, an emotionally draining day. And I just want to get the message out there. It's not about Mauro Ranallo or my career. It's about a 48-year-old white man who lives with a mental health condition on a daily basis, who is functioning at the highest level, who is called two of the biggest pay-per-views in combat sports history, who works for 3 different combat sports entities. And you're going to tell me that I'm not allowed to have a life? There are so many more talented people, so many incredible individuals listening even right now, that their own families don't allow them to discuss what's wrong with them, that they are supposed to be strong for everybody, that this is fake, this is performance art, this is not real. What, I'm not in a wheelchair? I don't have crutches? I don't take insulin because I'm not diabetic? I'm as sick as anybody has ever been sick, and right now I'm just wanting to save one life. So thank you, guys.
You are going to. Like I say,
he has.
You have over the years, Mauro. This is just going to be the cherry on the sundae because you've been very proactive about this for so many years. You know what I mean? And people, trust me, brother, people have been listening. So you've been doing this for a long time. Don't think that it was this film that this film is obviously going to get it to a larger audience. And you, like I said, showing yourself to us is very courageous. Man, but this was so well done too. I gotta commend anybody that was involved in it with your parents saving the
George, not to cut you off, my friend, but seriously, please bring that up because honestly, this documentary is not made with one person or without this person, Harris Usanovich, who is one of my closest friends. I met him in Toronto in 2006 when I went to the Fight Network. He was a young editor and cameraman, aspiring filmmaker, huge Pride Fighting Championships fan. So he was, I guess you could say, whatever reason, a little starstruck to be working with me at the Fight Network. But he and I connected immediately. And then when I saw a short film he had made of his trip back home to his native land, Bosnia, I said, man, this guy, dude, you're very talented, man. And he said he did it all himself. And the closer we became, the more, of course, I spent time with him away from the studio. I'd invite him to my apartment, and we would just do whatever friends do. And he began, I guess, to notice the pattern and go, Mauro, it blows my mind that you go to call Strikeforce, you go to call Pride, you call Pro Wrestling Noah, you're on TV, you're on radio every day, you're the hardest working man, the busiest guy, the most successful, and then look at us, look at you here. You're depressed. He's the one who broached the subject first, and he understood how sensitive it was, but he also knew how important this was to not only myself, to society. And at first, we were going to do maybe a little short film or a video, and then it became quite apparent that I guess this was a uniquely compelling story, and the amount of footage that was documented, and the fact that I wanted to talk about it, but the way he told the story, and he invested thousands of his own dollars. He has a young family to take care of, and he drove thousands of miles. The amount of hours that Harris put in on by himself, I cannot stress that enough, by himself to make this a reality. I mean, there's maybe another documentary or story in that because his commitment And I have to say, when I was hospitalized in Toronto, one person came to see me every single day that I was there, and that was Harris. So there's a reason I trusted him the way I do, but I do want to make sure that people recognize Harris Usanovich and his talents. And then, of course, Showtime, Malcolm Media for putting all the bells and whistles together and really making it as good as it does look. And, forget the content. The way it's put together is amazing. So I want to definitely thank Showtime, but the biggest thanks goes to Harris Usanovich.
Definitely. Folks, you got to check this out. I'm telling you, it is one of the best documentaries I've seen in my life, bar this whole MMA or combat sports, anything that I've ever seen in my life. I was glued to it, and you guys are really, really going to dig it. Now, granted, again, I've known Mauro for a long time, so a lot of you, but people that don't know who Mauro is are just going to be able to appreciate it because his voice has been heard by so many. But I'm telling you. So let me give you the details again. It's called The Bipolar Rock and Roller. It premieres on Friday, May 25th, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So perfect timing there, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on Showtime. You have to set the time aside to watch it, learn more about the man, and learn more about mental illness. Educate yourselves, folks. All right, let me turn it over to Goes. Goes, what do you have for Mauro Ranallo?
Mauro, the one thing I've learned from you throughout the years is anytime you're around people, they always get 100% of your attention. And I wondered, how much of your life was spent pleasing other people, and then how were you able to turn it around so that you could give yourself the amount of attention that you needed?
Man, you are amazing, guys. And this is why I do respect and love you guys. What a great question. Thank you, my friend. The answer quickly is I don't, for myself. The reason I give you my 100% attention, first of all, it's what, anybody should do to other people in a conversation, but I'm genuinely interested in people. That's why I do what I do. I love to tell people stories. I want to learn as many compelling stories as I can. That's why I'm a voracious reader, and I appreciate that even you're cognizant of that, my friend. But for me, that's what keeps me going, is being there for other people. And I believe also that is what has at times hurt me greatly and continues to hurt me. I still don't take care of myself the way I should, and the way that maybe could help me deal with my mental health issues as much as possible. It's in the documentary, and it's a constant struggle. I need to exercise daily. We all do, though, but me especially. I need to eat a clean, healthy diet because of the nutrients, not because of the taste or emotional eating. It's for my health. I need to meditate. I need to just give myself a break. Not everything has to be known, Mauro. I guess I suffer from FOMO in many ways, too, but I'm obsessed with preparation. I'm obsessed with knowing everything I can possibly know, not only about the individuals in the fight or that, it's about what's going on in the world. I believe my job is to make anyone a fan of what is happening in front of me. The hardcores, the diehards, you guys are sick of me. You know what I'm saying. That's fine. Turn it off. You're not, if you don't like my style, that's fine. But I'm there for everybody, and I want to be. I want this to be the best experience for anyone watching. So if it's for my pop culture references, it's for just a dramatic way of painting the picture of a knockout. He put him in airplane mode. You spell his name P-I-K-O. That's how I am. It's my release. It's my artistic release as an announcer and as a human being. If I didn't have this platform, I would be dead. And that is not hyperbole. That is not an overstatement. My work, or so-called work, is my air, is the reason I'm alive. I am not alive if I'm not able to be who I am as a broadcaster, as a storyteller, as an advocate, as for someone on a platform but that's why I also know this is why I have to do what I'm doing now. This is why I'll be that canary in the so-called coal mine. I'll be a casualty for this cause. If there is backlash, if there's people who think, wow, who would want to hire this guy? Look at this guy. Is he going to show, he's going to have a meltdown on air? What's happening here? I understand all of the fear of society, and that's why I will, Showtime Sports, CBS, WWE, Paramount Network, everyone who has ever hired me, and this goes way back to when I got my first full-time radio job, guys. My first full-time radio job in 1991. Not even months, but weeks later, I'm hospitalized. dream job is done. I write a resignation letter, and I put it in an envelope. And my father and I have had a strained relationship. My father has never really understood me, I don't think. I think a little bit now in his older age, he's getting it. But I know all he's wanted is his best for me. And his form of discipline wasn't always the best, but so be it. But my father, of all people, refused to give that letter to my program director at the radio station. That radio station announcer's program director's name is Brian Laver. Brian Laver, and this is early 90s, when this is still all taboo. No one's supposed to talk about mental health or mental illness. If you're that, you're not allowed to be on the radio. You're not allowed to have a job. Brian Laver said no. How long it takes. Mauro has shown initiative, work ethic, and talent, and I'm going to give him a chance. And I've been given chances by Steven Espinoza, by Vince McMahon, by Scott Coker, David Dinkins, Ross Roon, who gave me my life. How many millions of people who suffer from what I do never get the goddamn chance? And because of it have to kill themselves? Because someone wouldn't listen. All we want is to be heard. All I need is for people to just listen. You can save a life. You don't have to spend a cent. You don't have to spend a cent, but we need money. We need resources from the government and the medical. We need to take care of our military vets. We're not scared. Yeah, there's mass school shootings, and the first thing they do is blame mentally ill people. But maybe, and I agree, there needs to be more in place. We need to start younger as well, man. We need to get this into the schools. We talk about so much now. We want open lines of communication. I know how devastating cancer can be. I've lost so many people. But we talk about it. Why can't we talk about mental health, which impacts all of us? And I cannot believe that I still, even today, I have family. When is he going to be okay? Does he look for attention like this all the time? Doesn't he get enough attention being on TV? You think I do this for attention? Wow. I'm putting myself out there because I want to save a life because I've lost too many.
You're going to, my friend. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You already have. You're going to, and you watch. I'm telling you, this thing is so powerful. I cannot wait. I can't emphasize that enough. I can't wait for people to take notice in all combat sports and anyone that watches Showtime. And then from there, you watch the trickle effect it's going to have, Mauro. We'll be talking about this in like 3 weeks, and you're going to see exactly how many people are going to learn from all this. And it's all due to yourself and Harris and everybody else that supported this project. It is
due to people like you guys as well, and that's the best part about it. And I want to thank DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love of the NBA. I want to thank Demi Lovato. I want to thank all the rappers who are about it. The movement has started. I'm just a tiny speck, but it's happening. And I appreciate you guys more than you know, and I apologize for whatever it is that I'm doing here, but This is who I am, and I hope everyone gets a chance to see it. We want to put it in schools eventually. I know we're working on getting it aired in Canada, and I can't believe the amount of support I've had from the United Kingdom and around the world. So please, May 25th, 9 o'clock on Showtime. It's not about Mauro Ranallo. It's about life. It's about saving someone's life.
For sure. Mauro, and let me say one last thing. First of all, we appreciate your time, you and Steve, for doing this. I want to say one other thing. I want people to pay attention not just to the mental illness message that's going to be sent, and we're going to learn more about this great man, Mauro Ranallo, greatest sports announcer I've ever met. And then another thing is, don't ever lose sight of your child's dreams, because him with that
toilet paper roller? Yeah.
Now you got me fucking sappy. That was pretty powerful, dude, because parents shit on their kids.
Appreciate it, George. That's another thing too. You're right.
Parents
shit on
their kids' dreams too much.
Friends.
You gotta listen to your kids sometimes, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They fucking get it.
And that's where we want to help all of this. You're right, George, and I appreciate that all of you guys,
Sorry,
man.
buddy.
But that's exactly it. No, don't apologize. I mean, why are we? This is a platform. We're talking to people. Yes, we talk about fights. It's MMAjunkie. We all love the fights. This is about fighting. And you don't think, hey guys, you've been around the sport long enough. I mean, what about the mental health issues in combat sports? And yeah, I won't betray trust, but the amount of people, and I do mean the amount of people, more than just a handful, from WWE, Bellator, UFC, everywhere, boxers, everyone who has contacted me privately to say, man, this is what we need. This is more of what we need, and helping them understand. That's what this is all about. It has to happen because people are dying. I can't overstate that. We all die. We're all going to die. Imagine if you could be helped just simply talking to someone and getting help. Like, it's treatable. You can save a life. We can save somebody. It's not weakness.
Yeah.
They're sick. That's all it is.
Hey, Mauro.
We put so many millions of dollars into things that are definitely necessary. Well, so is this. So come on, let's all do more to help each other, guys. Thank you.
Mauro, you nailed it, man. This is Dan Tom here. I just wanted to get in a quick thank you and tell you that you don't have to apologize to you or show host George here. In fact, you did a great job here, and I can't wait to watch this documentary. I'll just say in short, as somebody who has stepped in and dedicated their life to combat sports and has had their own quote-unquote invisible injuries like concussions, and has also struggled with his own in the neurological field, maybe not bipolar, but my own things, that looking at someone like you, Mauro, being able to do it and break that stigma and not afraid to say so, man, that does so much. So forget about talking to all the proverbial people, which are real people that you are helping every time you open your mouth about it, which you are doing. But for what it's worth, you help inspire someone on this panel who hopefully can accomplish and be able to set an example and play his part in what is the bigger thing, not about Mauro Ranallo, not about MMAjunkie, the bigger topic at hand here, which I think you're doing a phenomenal job of bringing attention to. So I just want to thank you, Mauro. Thank you.
Well, Dan, thank you, and it goes without saying to me, man. And I think I DM'd you once. I don't get a chance to follow as much closely everything like I used to because I do compartmentalize things. Obviously, I try to stay abreast of all the major stories in MMA, boxing, wrestling, kickboxing, but it's MMAjunkie, and again, this goes way back. You guys were there from the beginning. I just love everything that you guys do, and Dan, your breakdowns. I told you this, man. I can tell there's not only a love for the craft of writing and journalism, but for the sport and for your audience. So I applaud you and all of you guys for the amount of work that you do for the sport, for your own profession. But I do respect the fact that I can tell you are someone who really cares about what you do. So I appreciate the kind words.
Thank you, Mauro. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
Well, I just wanted to leave him with one last thing because we're running out of time. But Mauro, and I think I may have told him this personally, but whenever you talk to a sportscaster and they ask him why do you do what you do, a lot of them will reply with, because I don't have the physical tools to do what they're doing in the sport that I'm commentating on. I love the sport, but I just don't have the physical tools to do it. In your case, man, in mixed martial arts, everything we see in these title fights, all the bravado, everything that goes into it, you doing this documentary is the bravest fucking thing I've ever seen in the entire sport. And I love you for it.
Well, I love you guys, and I appreciate that. And believe me, they put their lives on the line. I appreciate the sentiment, but again, I know, and I keep hearing it. And I guess if it wasn't me, if I were to see someone else do this, I probably would say the same thing, because it is kind of, I'm going there, but I guess I'm willing to be a casualty for the cause if I'm going to be. If there's anyone who has, just an issue for maybe they think I'm being exploited, because I know there was that concern even with Harris and I, that what was shown or why are we showing it. I know what was going on in terms of our vision for this. And the vision was to show I am a high-functioning human being living the dream in this free market society, making a good living. But guess what? This is what's going on, and I know already I've been, just with the tease in the trailer, inbox full with people who are going through the same thing but feel they can't talk about it. I am now hopefully going to allow them to begin to talk about it. So,
my
again,
man Mauro, thank you as always, man, for the time. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and we will remind our audience about this documentary that keeps coming out, and thank you as always, and hopefully we can do a catch-up in a couple of weeks. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good, guys.
Right.
Thank you, and God bless.
All right, folks, we got to take our last break. It's MMAjunkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
Do you remember
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Okay, again, I want to thank Steve Pratt for helping us line up Mauro Ranallo. You guys are really, really going to dig the Bipolar Rock and Rollers documentary that's going to come out. We'll be talking about it as we lead up to Friday, May 25th. And as far as my own thing there, sorry, man. I was really emotional to see my friend like that. But it did make this thing is so powerful and has so many angles. But I've thought about so many kids that have in the past said, this is what I want to do. And the parents either, like my parents, my mom mostly encouraged me to do other stuff. But she never shit on my dreams.
Yeah.
I know a lot of parents shit on their kids' dreams. And to see that a kid, at that age had already found his calling, that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
And so listen to your kids, pay attention, and help support their dreams is all I'm saying.
That touched me too, man. I mean,
but all right.
Yeah.
We're ending here on a proper,
yeah.
so I want to thank Dan Henderson, Miesha Tate, and Mauro Ranallo. It was a fun show. I'm sure there's a lot more we could have done with Bellator 199 and the rest of UFC 224, and we promise we'll do it tomorrow. So we'll see you then, okay, with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. For Danny back east, Dan, and Goes, which one's which? I'm George. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, go out there and be a champion.